Right, so if we just close our eyes, getting ready to begin, and we will begin as we normally do with 3 ohms, and just taking a moment to feel yourself. And when you're ready, just chant Om with me, join me. Om. Om. Om yogena chetasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vegyakena yopakarotam pravaram muninam patanjalim pran jaliranatosmi Patanjalim pran jalilanatosmi. Om. Okay, so opening your eyes. Thank you very much for joining us, all of you. And this is a real pleasure to be talking to everyone and from everywhere in the world, and it's really lovely. And so we're having to adapt, and so the talk today is yoga beyond the cat stretch or beyond the physical. Uh, and yoga practice for modern living. So modern living, look at us, instead of all being sat in a room, we're all everywhere. And I've got this funny thing on my head, and I'm actually in my office, and rather than being on the floor sat cross-legged and having a relaxed time. So there we are, all of us adapting to technology and everything else. And so I would like to sort of say a few things first. So you don't have to believe anything I say. So you question what I'm saying to you, think for yourself, and in the spirit of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you can call a friend, you can ask the audience, you can you can do whatever you like, and also you can ask, you can Google and ask the modern guru Google about any questions that you may have. So I think what I'll do today is probably raise a lot more questions than actually provide answers. So I do apologize for that in advance. And also, there might be some errors that I will make in speaking, or some unintended generalization about things that I would probably have no idea about. So, so I do ask for forgiveness for anything that I may say that might not sit very well with anyone. It's not intentional at all. And so the aim of today is just to provide us all with a broader view of what yoga is. And I guess a lot of us here attend posture yoga classes, and but then we don't often get the chance to actually do other things and look at other facets of yoga. So this is what we were going to try and do today. So this, I just saw this and I thought it was quite funny. So it says, how is it we're the most successful species on the planet, yet we need to pay people to remind us to breathe? So yeah, for people who go to yoga classes, your yoga teachers is always on about how you need to breathe properly. And yeah, so that's, I think that's quite ironical in many ways. Um, and so I think one way of thinking about yoga is, I quite like this synthesis of yoga in summarized in 5 different points. And so we will come to each of these points in one by one. And the way to also think about it is to think about the body being similar to a car in some way. So an analogy between the body and a car. So the car needs a lubricating system. So otherwise the joints won't go and your car won't run. So as I said, I don't know anything about cars, but that's what I'm told. It needs a lubricating system. So I'm hoping people here know what I'm talking about, and they know more about me than about this. And then a car apparently doesn't run without a battery. Okay, so do we all agree with this bit as well? Okay, so so then if you think about the body, about our system, and so what yoga offers in terms of the lubrication system and the battery is the asanas, so which are the physical postures. So what the physical postures do is they help to improve circulation, blood circulation, they massage the internal organs, and they help our organs to function better. And also a flexible and strong spine is also very helpful. It enhances blood circulation and keeps the body young and powerful. Who doesn't want that, eh? And also often people kind of say, well, you're only as young as your spine. That's what asana yoga teachers say. But then I would probably also say that you're only as young as your mind says you are. So both of them are equally valid. And then we'll go on to talk about pranayama, which is the control of breath. So obviously we all breathe, and we all can breathe, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But we've also learned with yoga that we have the ability to work on the breath even more, and to kind of help us to for the body to function better, but also to achieve a mental state that is better for us. So it is a deep and conscious breathing boosts our daily energy reserves as well. So I will just put on a little YouTube video, and I'm hoping it wouldn't come up with with an advert in YouTube as normally is the case. So let's see what happens. So we'll just say for a second what it shows us. Okay. Okay, so we'll just try and see how we can do that.
Welcome to the science of yoga.
Okay, so I'll need to reshare my screen with you. Sorry, this is just technology and getting the better of me right now, and it is not allowing me to do what I want to do. Okay. Okay, let's have a little look. Okay, I've lost my meeting control, which should be somewhere here, but seem to have lost it. Sorry, bear with me. There we go. Okay, so we're on a different screen now, and then we'll see what happens.
Part 2. In ancient times, the yogis in India intuited that bodily posture has a profound effect on a person's state. They believed that tiny channels called nadis ran through the human body, carrying through them a force called prana, life force. And it was said that if these nadis were kept aligned, the flow of prana would be smooth, unhindered,
and you?
overall health. Kind of like a weapon.
Yeah.
It's very quiet and difficult to hear. There should be a way, if you click on your microphone, to go to audio settings and then share the sound from your computer through the Zoom. So
okay, hang on. Is that better? Is that any better?
No, it's very soft actually. We hardly can hear it.
Okay. So sorry, Angela, what do we do?
I think if you go to your microphone where it says mute on the bottom left,
Yeah.
click on the arrow next to it.
Yeah.
And what options have you got there?
Well, I've got my headphones and then the desktop microphone. So
have you got audio settings?
yeah.
Try clicking on audio settings. And there should be a way to share your laptop sound through the Zoom. I can't, because I'm not the host. I don't know how to. I can't remember how to do it. But
Yeah,
I think it may be that Anju needs to take her headphones off, because once you have connected to the headphones, the computer automatically delivers sounds to your headphones. So you might be able to hear it, but not us. Try that. And then select your computer microphone.
Bring the body back into its natural state. The yogis saw the body and mind not as separate entities, but as a single continuum, both influencing each other.
that's a little bit better. Yeah.
Energetic and balanced, the mind would follow suit. But what's the need for this, you might ask?
Andrew, if you click on share screen and share sound at the bottom of the share screen pop-up window.
Okay, so sorry, say that again.
Click on the share screen button.
Yeah.
And check the box to share computer sound at the bottom of the share screen pop-up window. So when you get the pop-up window that says what you want to share, at the bottom there should be.
So maybe, do I have to stop sharing and then start sharing again?
Stop sharing and then reshare again, and there should be an option to share computer sound.
All right, okay, so let's see. Okay, share computer sound, yay. Okay, I think we're in business, okay. Right, okay.
Welcome to the Science of Yoga, Part 2. In ancient times, the yogis in India intuited that bodily posture has a profound effect on a person's state. They believed that tiny channels called nadis ran through the human body, carrying through them a force called prana, life force. And it was said that if these nadis were kept aligned, the flow of prana would be smooth and unhindered, contributing to overall health, kind of like a well-oiled machine. When these nadis get impeded, energy builds up and we feel it as pressure. The idea of yoga is to counter these misalignments and bring the body back into its natural state. The yogis saw the body and mind not as separate entities, but as a single continuum, both influencing each other. So if the body was kept energetically balanced, the mind would follow suit. But what's the need for this, you might ask? Well, years and years of ignorance, smartphones, TV watching and poor conditioning has kicked many people's bodies out of balance and made them habitually misaligned. Could watching our posture be at least one way of countering this trend? According to Western science, the answer is yes. Here's what some studies have showed. Simply sitting up straight affects your mood to the point that you're more likely to remember positive memories as opposed to negative ones. It's also shown to reinforce confidence. Standing up straight has shown to increase testosterone levels and decrease cortisol, which is known as the stress hormone. And this may well be because certain postures, or asanas, claim to affect the organs in a positive way. So could it be that the unhindered flow of prana through the body makes us feel more inhabited, calms down a wandering mind and energizes the body? Is this another area that yogis and scientists can agree on? Another separate area of yogic study is the breath. Do you know that we breathe approximately 23,000 times a day? And for most people, these are shallow chest breaths, usually involving the intercostal muscles, especially in times of stress. But they pale in comparison to their counterpart, diaphragmatic or belly breaths, known by the yogis as Adham Pranayama. Of course, you're not actually breathing air into your stomach, but it's the diaphragm that's doing the work, not the chest muscles. This type of breathing not only improves lung function, fitness and posture, it's also said to activate the vagus nerve, triggering the parasympathetic relaxation response. This is evidence of a stunning link between breathing patterns and the nervous system. So while our society thinks mental health is confined purely to the brain, our yogic friends of olden times said that the mind and body are inseparable. Yogic practice or awareness, whether postural or breathing, does, it seems, have a profound effect on our state of being.
Okay, so can everyone still hear me okay? Oh, good, great, that's lovely. So that means I don't have to wear the big thing that I was wearing, so that's better. But I will have to put it on when I'm actually later on, when I have to hear you for the questions. Okay, so we go back to the presentation now, so I will move on to the third point of yoga, if you like. So if we go back to this idea of a car also needs a cooling system. So otherwise the car will blow up. Okay, so for us, the way to think about it is that we have to have relaxation. Otherwise, this is where we kind of burn out. So as you will know, if the body and the mind are subjected to constant overload, then you know, as our body will not be able to perform properly or function even. So relaxation is a very important part. And also, I mean, we as yoga teachers, we kind of try and incorporate it in the classes, but also it's something that we have to be very aware of and conscious of, and make sure that we give our body relaxation. And then I'm also told that a car needs fuel to run. Okay, so so we'll whatever it is, however, unleaded, petrol, diesel, whatever you name it. So similarly, we need a proper diet in our body. So one that is simple, one that is natural, that promotes health. And the yogis also refer to it as a sattvic diet. So it doesn't say really, you know, it doesn't kind of names them, but it's a sattvic diet that is required for what you do in life and what it is that you have to do. And the most important part, maybe, or the last point of yoga, is that it offers us the opportunity to rewire the brain, to eliminate negative thought patterns and experience deep inner peace. And so what it does is, if you imagine we all have a destination of some sort, and then we need a map to get there. So these days we don't really need a map. All we need is a sat nav and our phone. So if you like, in the yogi speak, what we want is we think about the Indian, well, about the philosophy, different types of philosophy to be our sat nav. So basically it gives us the tools that we need to help us navigate through life. So that is the bit that I want to focus on, and that is the bit that very often we don't talk about enough in yoga practices. So I will not attempt to define yoga in any way, but I will just put this statement here, so which I'll read out some of the key points. So in 2014, the Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of the President, the Prime Minister of India, lobbied so that there was this day, the 21st of June becomes the International Yoga Day. And so this reads that yoga is an invaluable gift of India's ancient tradition. So there is no denying that this is where yoga comes from. So that is true, and we can't deny that. And so this tradition is very old. And it's also, it helps with harmony between man and nature. which nowadays is something that we will come back to. So this relationship between man and nature is very important. So I'm talking about Mother Nature here. And it's a holistic approach to health and well-being. And also it is about the sense of discovering oneness with ourselves, the world and nature. So, and that is roughly what we're talking about yoga here. So this is how we're defining yoga, if you like. And moving on to the next bit. So here, as I said, the origin of yoga is unknown, so very old. And very often you hear people talking about sage Patanjali or Patanjali Maharshi. At the beginning today, I started with an invocation to Patanjali Maharshi. And so his work was the Yoga Sutras, one of the works that actually consolidates this. This is not just what yoga is. And then, and the fact is, we don't really know very much about what happened, you know. So he didn't do a book launch. So there was nothing about around this kind of thing that happened. And also, people know very little about him. And also, some people say he also did a seminal text on Sanskrit grammar. But then some people say, well, actually, there might have been somebody else called Patanjali at the same time. So the truth is, you know, people debate these things, but we don't really know. And then there was also a medical text that associated maybe with him or with another Patanjali. So the point is, we don't really know, but it's very, very old. And yoga was also mentioned in very old sacred texts like the Rig Veda, and also in the Bhagavad Gita, which a lot of you would have heard of. And so now I'm just going to talk a little bit about some comparison between yoga and modern science. So science is, as you know, an objective knowledge and have very little to say about the subject. So by subject here, I mean about us. Who are we? And the subjectivity of what we're talking. So the material things around us are all the things that we can see. Right, so science is very good at that. Science is very good at explaining gravities, explaining all the things around us, the materials and things like that. But actually who we are and why things are the way they are, this is not something that science is very good at doing. And also I remember when I did a course on the Yoga Sutras, and a lot of it was actually metaphysics. So it was pure physics, a lot of it, which obviously went over my head. I'm no physicist and I'm no scientist in that way. So really it's very much grounded into science, and that's what yoga is as well, but it's an aspect that people don't often know about. And also you would have all heard about the Higgs boson experiments that are happening at CERN in Geneva, and where they've discovered something that they call the Higgs field. And this is again, it relates to this idea of consciousness, which is something that has been talked about a lot and something that yoga has a lot to say about. So basically, some of the things, well, in some ways, you know, this philosophy has a lot more to offer than we know, and also to say that I mean, in schools, we've all been to schools, and the training in schools help us to understand the material world. In school, we're not taught about the subjective things. We're not taught about these things. So, which is why we find it quite difficult to understand this idea of subjectivity, and this when we present it to subjective knowledge, then people are like, what is this? I mean, is this mystical, or is this, you know, but it isn't, but this is how people perceive it, because we are not equipped. We haven't been equipped with our education system everywhere in the world to deal with that kind of knowledge. So basically I'm saying it's not our fault. So if that, or it is just the way it is. So, so that is a little bit the point that I wanted to make. So basically, yoga is nothing mystical, and a lot of it is scientific and very, very grounded in science, and which is well above what I understand. But I know the knowledge is there, and I do trust that knowledge. And also, yoga offers that connection between spirituality and material life, which science doesn't do. So material life is one, and then spirituality is something on the other end of the spectrum. So what yoga does is it tries to bring these two together. And it's all about our life experiences and trying to connect these two together. And so sorry, scientists out there. And now, sorry, psychologists. So I know the psychologist here as well, so I do apologize for this bit. So scientists understand the use of organs, but not the use of the brain so much. So the distinction between the two. And yoga offers a fantastic explanation about the mind and the different aspects of the mind that we don't even know or hear about very often. So we can talk about the conscious level. The conscious level is what we're all in now. So you might be listening to me or might not be, but you're still conscious. And there is the subconscious mind, if you like. So your breathing is happening, you're not thinking about it. So this is the subconscious bit, if you like. And then we move on to the if you like, the unconscious or the superconscious mind. And so that is the bit that that yoga has a lot to offer, and an explanation about how this mind works and why we do some of the things we do and why some of the things are happening to us, and which really there is no other way of explaining that within the psychological, if you like, paradigm. Or maybe there is. If I'm wrong, then I don't know. So again, yoga philosophy is about how to use this superconscious mind, how to make that superconscious mind alive, and how we can use this to actually realize the self. So I've just dropped in this term, and I will kind of explain a little bit more about this in a little while. So for now, park it, or you know, if and it's something that you can explore in your own time as well. And the other thing here I wanted to talk about is yoga offers a very deep explanation of the different types of bodies. So we all think about the physical body, so what we can see. So obviously, if we've hurt ourselves, or if we've got a little bit of pain from sun salutations this morning, we can actually really feel it, and that's very simple, right? But a lot of times, I don't know if any of you have been in this situation where you've kind of thought, well, actually, you might have been in the situation yourself, or heard of people who have been, where they've gone to the doctor, something is wrong with them, and they really know that something is wrong, but then they've done all sorts of tests, spent loads of money, waited a lot around, and then all the tests are very positive, and there's nothing that the tests reveal that might have been the problem. And so is that something people have experienced? Is that something that I've made up, or is that, yeah? Okay, so I think I can see a few nods, so I'm going to take that as something that you've heard about. So what the problem is in these cases is that there might be problems, or there might be, we talked about naris at the beginning, about prana being stuck. So this is what is happening. So there are things happening at the inner layer of the body. So I'm not going to talk about what these layers are, etc. at the moment. But so in that way, you know, this is where the source of the problem is, and taking a pill is just not going to solve that problem, basically. So in that case, medicine is very much behind. So here, I'm not kind of advocating one over the other. There is a place for both, but I'm just saying what one has to offer, what yoga has to offer, and what its explanation of what's happening to our body. And then also this is kind of something that makes me smile every time. So you know, when people talked about personalized medication or medicine in the Western world. So basically, sometimes when there are trials and things, and people are saying, oh well, this medication only works for a subset of the people, not everyone, and why is that? And you know, and so therefore we will have to have different treatments for different peoples in the way they respond to medication, etc. So I mean, I think what the point I'm trying to make here is that this is really good, but this has been around for thousands of years. Again, this is exactly what Ayurveda does. So Ayurveda talks about the medication for or a way of healing the body for each different person, based on your type, based on your body, based on who you are and what you do in life, you know, etc. So really, personalized medicine is nothing new in the Eastern philosophy. So I'm just kind of saying that you know, there is all this explanation that this philosophy has got a lot to offer to us in understanding what we are all experiencing. Okay, so I know this is all a little bit simplified, but let's take this for the time being. And as I said, again, I'll repeat, don't believe everything I say, think about it, question it. And then, so now this is probably the biggest one, and I wasn't really sure whether I should talk about this today or not. And a lot of time when we bring the word religion or the G word, the God word, it kind of comes up with all sorts of connotations. And but I just thought it wouldn't be right if I didn't kind of mention it in some way. I wouldn't do the philosophy any justice. So as I said at the beginning, there is no denying that the origin of yoga is within the Indian tradition. And also, I think it was only last week or very recently that the Greek Orthodox Church had said that there is no place for yoga in the life of Christians. And that's because yoga is a fundamental chapter in Hindu religion, and it is not a kind of physical exercise. So it's not Hindu religion, but it's Hindu spirituality. So there's a slight distinction between the two, if you like. And they are absolutely right in the sense that this is where it comes from, and it's not just a kind of physical exercise. You can take it as that, and then that's absolutely fine as well. But what is not right is that it doesn't have any.
And I don't know if everybody else is having the same trouble, but you've frozen your screen and I can't hear you anymore.
Okay.
I can see and hear you fine.
I have no problem. I can see you and hear you absolutely fine.
Okay.
It may be whoever is actually reporting that they might have a problem with their audio or video.
I can hear you fine too.
Okay. So So I'll carry on. So those who can't hear, then maybe you just come back in, if that's okay. Who can't hear? I mean, I can't see everyone on my screen right now.
I think it was Eshrani who couldn't see or hear you.
So if that's okay with you guys, I'll carry on, and we'll see where we get to. Okay, so so this thing about we were talking about the topic of God. So, well, the fundamental differences for me, at least, in philosophy is you're encouraged to make up your own mind and question things, whereas in religion we often accept a set of beliefs. Okay, so I think one way one of my teachers explains this is that it's just like in kindergarten, right? So in kindergarten, when you're told 1 + 1 is 2, you accept it. So you don't kind of start a debate and saying, well, no. So again, in religion, it's often like this, where there is a set of beliefs. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's what it is in a lot of ways, and we accept it. Whereas in some sort of philosophy, we are encouraged to make up our own mind to question things. And you might not agree with this, but this is roughly what it is. And sometimes there are confusions as well in religion, but with spirituality, it kind of tries and iron it out a little bit. So, and it is not, I'm not saying this as kind of in disrespect to any religion or anything like that, but I think we will agree with this because there are fights that have happened throughout history, and that have come from understanding or misunderstanding of what religions say. So, and also there are a lot of rules and regulations with religion to do with gender, race, caste, etc. And whereas philosophy, it kind of goes a little bit beyond all that, if you like. So this is my interpretation, right? So, so my interpretation is that philosophy offers a coherent explanation to bring together the different beliefs from different religions together. So I think for me personally, for those of you who know me, so I grew up in Mauritius, where it's a very multicultural society and with all religions. So when I was in primary school, one of my best friends was a Muslim, and I'm born a Hindu, and it never kind of really sat very well with me that we had different gods and so who's right, who's wrong, and so there's always been kind of these questions. Then I'm like, okay, so how do we kind of reconcile all this, if you like? So so that was if you like, a little bit of something for me that the philosophy kind of brought together and provided these questions. And so the next slide that I will show you is this concept of light within all faiths. So this is a picture of Yogaville in America, and the one on your left is the Lotus Temple. I can't remember what it stands for at the minute. So I think it is the light. Oh, okay, I'm sure I've got it somewhere. Oh yeah, so it's Light of Truth Universal Shrine. And it's a unique temple that, that was constructed in 1986, and to bring together different interfaith understanding. And you can imagine that in America, that was also very important in the context of the Native Americans not being able or to practice their faiths in a very free way. So so at this place there are different altars. So you can see in these in the second picture and the third picture, so there are all different altars, and then at the center of each one of them is this light. So it's quite a fascinating place, and what it tries to say is that the truth is one, but the paths are many. So we all want to achieve that one goal, if you like, but we all go through our different paths where we've born, what we know, what we do, to kind of bring us together. So here, so I think there are various altars there, and bringing all known and unknown religion. So I think this idea of if you like, that we're all one, all of us. So we might be of a different religion, different skin color, but at a deeper level, we're all very, very same, and we all want the same thing, which is love, and which is love and the light, and we're all the same. So it's the same thing that we want, and by love I mean a bit more universal love, and a bit more so it's a bit bigger than I'm not talking about the love with your partner or anything like that at the moment. So it's something slightly bigger. So so yeah, I mean, I think this is also very important to kind of think about in the current context of what the world is going on these days as well. And just this is a nice reminder of what it is. And so this concept of the truth is one, the paths are many, and also this word that I dropped in earlier on about self-realization is not really an alien concept. I mean, it is things that a lot of us misunderstand, and there's a lot of misunderstanding about it, but the concept itself is not very alien at all. So I'll come back to this. So, the next slide, when I was thinking about, well, how do I talk about God today? And it's just something that I find very difficult to talk about. And then one of our friends, Sarah, had posted this this slide, and so which kind of summarizes what I wanted to say. So it says God is consciousness, not a creator. God is the source of creation itself, so it's not he or she. It's not independent of us. So it is the totality of everything. And when I call myself God, I'm not talking about my personal self, so it's not this body that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the expression of God that rests inside of us. So a lot of time we say God is inside you. This is what we mean. And so the verb, the energy, not the noun. So once you think God is a noun, is a person, a place or thing, then you separate it from us, and we already become what is called a limited being. So again, a lot of time in my experience, when people have called themselves atheists, it is not because they are atheists as such, but it is because of their perception of what God is. So they think God is this one person, or this one, in one place, or whatever. So then that is one of the misconceptions sometimes, according to this philosophy. And again, up to you to see. So I think, again, what I'd said earlier on, this is what separates the believers, the religious from the knowers, and spirituality. So also the thing that I wanted to talk to you about was when I said that this idea is not very alien at all. So we're all consciousness, and so some of you might know this better than me, but I think Jesus said something, my Father and I are one. So what does that mean? That is that merging the consciousness and losing the identity of your body, but becoming this one union and one consciousness. So that's what it is. And also in Islam, there are no figures, no human representation, because of that. Well, my interpretation of it is because everything is it's much more than that. It's this universal consciousness. And in Hinduism, we have various gods and goddesses, as you know. And the symbolicism behind this is that if we say, okay, let's close our eyes and worship consciousness. Okay, so I think it is something that we will all find very difficult to do, because if it's something that we cannot comprehend with our mind and understand. Whereas if we want to kind of connect to something that we like, or something that is more visible and tangible, because you can even touch something sometimes, and then that helps us to kind of focus the mind a little bit better. So this is my interpretation of this whole topic, and I think, and I do apologize, I mean, this is an oversimplification, so people can talk about it for 30 years, but I guess we've all got other things that we want to do. And okay, so now I move on to the next concept, which is why are we here, and what do we all want in life? And I think, I don't know if you agree, but is it kind of fair to say that we all want happiness at a certain level? Yeah? Anybody disagrees? I'm having problems. I can't see everyone, unfortunately. But so anybody disagree that we would, I think it is a fairly safe thing to say we want happiness. So whatever that happiness may mean to us, but happiness is kind of something that we want to, we're happy and we want to, strive for. And so in some countries they don't measure GDP, so which is all in dire straits at the moment with the coronavirus, as we know, but they also measure what is called the gross happiness index. And so that kind of has things around psychological well-being, health, education, cultural diversity and resilience, good governance, ecological diversity and resilience. So it's also takes into consideration Mother Nature and our relationship to it. living standards, good governance, and community vitality. So which we all know in these circumstances, gross happiness index is a lot more relevant in some ways than GDP. I'm not saying it isn't. I mean, so I think this is a quote from Jacinta Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister, who said, "So one message I want to repeat is this: I have always said that politics is all about priorities. So we have a limited budget and have to try and balance the need to grow the economy, create jobs, balance the books, look after our people and our environment." Okay, so these are new things that I think the current state of the current events have kind of got us to think a little bit more about, is our people and our environment. So so the other thing to realize here when we're talking about happiness, this is our true nature. So what we truly desire is happiness, but then what we do is something different. So we do, so there is a little bit of disconnect with modern society and what our true nature is and what society gets us to do. So I mean, I also realize that we are society, but you know, it's just to for discussion purpose to keep these two separate. So we want to keep busy versus keeping happy. We're always striving for something. There's always something that society is kind of getting us to do, and which is kind of keeping us a little bit away from this goal that we have of being happy. So you know, we have to go to work, we have to do all these things, and there's all so many demands of society on us, and then we neglect what we're really here for and what our true nature is. And that's this, sometimes people call it the auto-suggestion of what we have inside us, and then the hetero suggestion, which is coming from outside. So the things, stimuli from outside that are getting us to do other things. So I think this is something that is that we have to reflect about, and I think the recent events have got us to think about this as well, in terms of saying, right, okay, what is really important and what isn't, and what are the things that actually we were doing that we could probably now stop doing because all they were doing is stressing us a little bit more. And you know, so it is kind of, you know, it's just to make you think about it, and you know, what we truly desire and what we are doing with ourselves. And you know, sometimes we kind of saying, yeah, we want to look after ourselves, and then we go and do something to our body that's kind of completely contrary to what we want to do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. We've got to live, we've got to do stupid things, we've got to do 108 salutation, and you know, we've got to have fun. But at the same time, it's nice to have at the back of our mind this idea of what our true nature is. I mean, there is this idea of wanting to go home where we belong, what we really want, and then what is all around us. Okay, so it's just something to think about, hopefully. And then, so I think these two pictures, some of you will recognize what it is. So on the left is a picture from the Bhagavad Gita. So it's about this spiritual discourse that happened on a battlefield. And then we are here today talking about yoga in difficult times and in the coronavirus time. So basically, a lot of times people go back to these very simple, to the simple principles, if you like, in difficult times. I mean, with the mythology, a lot of times, well, whether you call it mythology or whatever you call it, there is a lot of symbolism. So is that a word? I think it is. Okay, but you know what I mean. It's kind of I'm talking about, so there is a lot of significance about why that discourse of the Bhagavad Gita happened in a battlefield. So, you know, that was when this dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, when Arjuna was completely confused about what he needed to do, and then he was receptive to this knowledge at that time. So similarly, you know, we undergoing what we are undergoing at the moment, we kind of, you know, thinking of re-evaluating some of the things and rethinking our priorities. Some of us are having a really good, difficult time. Some of us are really good time. So it's just a time to kind of really think about, and just to say that yoga kind of offers a lot of ways to help us recenter ourselves and cope with difficult times, which, you know, this now it's coronavirus, what's next we don't know, what else will happen, or, you know, difficult times is not something that we're shielded against. They happen all the time and in different kind of ways. So I will talk about this briefly, so we've not got much time. So there are, if you like, in yoga, we often simplify things, if you like, about 4 paths of yoga. So what, and we also say that the various paths that people choose will depend on our temperaments and our characteristics, what we like, what we don't like, and it, you know, there is something in there for all of us depending on your nature. And again, these paths are not mutually exclusive at all. So it doesn't mean that, you know, one of them is better than the other, but they're just kind of very, they go hand in hand. So I will briefly talk about these. And again, I'm not going to do any one of them justice, because I'm going to just touch on them. And I'm going to focus on, well, the one, I'll start from the bottom. So Jnana Yoga is where scholars kind of study the philosophy and try and intellectualize and see how to bring the knowledge of the self. So they are scholars, they are people who study the scriptures, and really, so that's a different kind of yoga. And then there is Raja Yoga, where people kind of meditate a lot and try and focus the mind. And when we talk about one-pointed here, so it is about that one-pointed goal of self-realization or happiness, however you want to call it. And then the third path, if you like, is the Bhakti Yoga. So it is about developing that feeling of the heart and love. And people also do that in the form of, in many forms. And a lot of it is around the love of God and you know, attending ceremonies or praying together, singing together. And so that is what we do. And the idea is, when we're doing these practices, is we're focusing, when we're singing these things, we are focused. We are believing these things, we are experiencing something, we are letting us feel that love that I was talking about earlier on. So that's Bhakti Yoga. And then the last one is Karma Yoga, which is again something that is very misunderstood. So sometimes people use this word Karma Yoga to as a term, you know, to exploit other people and say, oh, like, let's do this for free for me. This is Karma Yoga, but that's not really the understanding of Karma Yoga that is helpful. So Karma Yoga means it is developing a proper attitude and offering the fruits of your actions. So I'll explain a little bit about this. So what it means is that when it is an attitude, it is not a physical thing. So basically, when you're doing your paid job, you could always practice Karma Yoga. So in the sense that what you are doing is you're offering something. So, you know, you are you're a yoga teacher, so therefore you are, what you're doing is an offering. So you are making food for the family or for yourself every day. So it is an offering. It is not, it is, you know, so it's just a kind of rewiring the brain, as I used that term before. So it is not a chore. It is not, you know, you don't stop thinking of it as a chore and, oh, I've got to do the same thing every day. You know, we all go through these phases and everything. But one thing that really helps is to kind of rewire the brain to kind of say, yeah, this is one of my purposes in life, and this is what I do, and I will do it with love, and I will do it with this idea of offering and doing your best whenever you're doing it. I mean, again, this is a generalization. There are circumstances when this doesn't apply, obviously. But so this is one of the Karma Yoga attitude, if you like. And the second one is is also to kind of not expect any fruits of your action. Okay, so I've prepared this talk today, and I mean, okay, so I'm hoping that you might get something out of it or might not. But then if I kind of think, well, you know, you're all listening, so you've not fallen asleep. But then if you know, I can't expect something, you know, I can only give, I can only put all my efforts in preparing this, for instance, and deliver it with love. But then I can't expect somebody else to receive it well. They might do, they might not do, but that is well beyond my control. But then it will not stop me from doing it. So if you like it, then that's really good. If you don't, then that is just the way it is. And it's not. And if I expect this, and then I get really upset when I can see Praveen nodding off there, then you know, I will be upset. So what I'm trying to say here is that it is an attitude, and you would probably agree with me that you know, when we're talking about expectations, very often it is one of the biggest source of disappointment. Okay, so you do something and then you're expecting something from it, but then you know, what happens is not, you know, is not something that we can control. It's something that we just have to accept that we haven't got the ability to control everything. So, you know, and one of my teachers kind of explains it in this way, and I really like it, so I'll share this with you. Is that any of you think they're a good cook or a bad cook? A good cook? Oh, come on, just say, yeah. Anyone a good cook? No? Yeah, okay. So, or a bad cook, whichever. But the idea is, in a way, you present food to your family and you've actually got very little to have done with that cooking. So you are a coordinator at the best of times, okay? So what you're cooking, let's say you're cooking vegetables that maybe you have grown, maybe you haven't. So it's needed compost, it's needed the sun, it's needed the worms, it's needed everything else, you know, outside of your control to grow. And then okay, so you've harvested it, you brought it home, and then to cook you need a pan. Okay, so utensil, so that's got nothing to do with you either. You might have picked it, you might have had a good bargain buying it, but it's nothing to do with you. Okay, so it is a pan that you're using. Okay, and then presumably you're using some heat, some mode of combustion or whatever. So you've got, so again, I'm really sorry, but that's got nothing to do with you either. Okay, so what you're doing is you're switching it on, you're putting your food in, and then something is happening. And then, you know, and then you, if you're like me, you use some of these ready-made spices, and then you've got no control of how much chili there is in it either. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that, you know, okay, so then the food comes out and you're like, I have done this. But you have coordinated it all. But then at the end of the day, it's not, you know, there is a lot of things there that is beyond what you say is your control. And so it's just a different way of thinking about things. And in that case, what I would say is that, okay, you've done your best, you made your food with love, and then Colette, if it doesn't taste very nice, then so be it, you know. So you've done your best, and that's it. You can blame the pan, maybe. But so there we go. So it's just a bit of an attitude, if you like. So that's all was the point that I wanted to make. And I think I'm just going to kind of summarize and sort of talk to you about the take-home messages as I see them today. I don't know what your take-home messages are, and we can discuss that. So it's so my aim today was just to kind of say, well, yoga has a lot more to offer than what we, Angela, Ashrani, and myself can offer in an asana class. And so it is a way of life. And it doesn't mean, you know, you have to disappear to the jungle to be a yogi. You haven't got to have dreadlocks, and you know, you can also be. But it is just an attitude. It's something. It's something that can be in the way of living, rather than you know, not in the way that we probably associate the term yogi with. That means, you know, we were wearing very little and in the jungle somewhere. And also, practice of yoga off the mat is much more important in some ways if you want to see real change in our life. So I'm not saying that asanas are not important, but asanas, I often see them as if you like, a way in, how do you call this? Saut à perche. Oh, pole vaulting. You know, so it's this, when you're jumping, you need the pole to help you jump. So this is what asana does. It helps you, it gives you that, you know, it's that pole to kind of help you achieve what it is that you want to achieve in life. So the practice of yoga off the mat is a lot more important. I mean, you know, at best we are on our mat 1 hour a week, so that's at best. But then what happens to all the other time? You know, so if we want to kind of if we aspire to something different in life and happiness in life, then we've got to go and get it somewhere. And also, I think it is quite nice to appreciate our purpose in life. Each one of us has a very special purpose of why we're here, what we do, and what we have to do. And it is kind of sometimes thinking about this. And as I said, the current circumstances have made us think about this. And also to kind of think, well, you know, we all have got a higher purpose. Some of us are consciously working towards it, some of us are not. But whether we are conscious of it or not, but we are all working towards it in certain ways. So just because you're not conscious of it, we're not conscious of it, doesn't mean we're not. So it is just saying, well, keep on working towards this. And finally, I just wanted to kind of, I'm not going to go into a lot more details about this. So a lot of people talk about these tools. So there are all sorts of tools that we can use in yoga. But these are just some words there that gives us some ethical principles, if you like, and some duties and some observances that kind of help us to lead a happy life. So I won't go into any one of these. So there are things we can explore. You can ask Google, will tell you all about this. So harmlessness is harmlessness, not just to, we're not talking necessarily just animals and we're not saying killing people, but we're talking about to ourselves. And then being truthful to ourselves. And there is this idea of non-stealing. So to take whatever you need, and not more than you need. And I think this idea of the environment is again very important here. Is a lot of time we as a society we steal from Mother Nature. We take a lot more than we need to take, and this is something that we need to think about in this way. So I'm not talking, you know, about stealing here. I'm not talking about looting. I'm talking about a much wider sense as well. And you know, in some ways, it's also related to this idea of minimalist. And there is this idea of self-control, about our restraint, about something that, you know, we've all got certain instincts and certain things we want to do, but then it might not be good for us, and we think about it. And then on the right-hand side, I will talk about, I won't talk about everything of them, but I will talk about contentment, about being, you know, being content with what we have. It doesn't mean that, you know, everything has to be rosy all the time, but, you know, to cultivate that idea of being content with what we've got. And that will kind of also help to not put us on this rat race all the time, something that we always want to achieve and running after something all the time, which can be very, very exhausting. And you know, it's about also discipline and which you know we all do, otherwise we won't be here. And then there is also this idea of self-study. So it is about taking this time to reflect about ourselves, what we want, about our behavior and other people, about, you know, about what it is that we want to achieve. And then there is this what I talked to you about briefly earlier on, which is about surrendering fruits of action. to a higher power is just saying we're here to fulfill a purpose, and we do the best we can, and that's it. Okay, so I think that's me done. So I hope this has given you a few things to think about. So we haven't got too long, and so I will put on my microphone now.
And I will now take some questions. So I will stop sharing my screen, and then I will take some questions, and I think I can unmute all. So anyone who's got any question, please go ahead. It doesn't mean I can answer it, but
I was going to ask about the, can you hear me all right?
yes.
Talking about the 4 paths of yoga, I've also heard of something called the 8-fold path. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so the 8, so I'll just mute all for now, and then so the 8-fold paths is also sometimes called the Ashtanga, so which not to be confused with the brand name of Ashtanga yoga, where which is a lot to do with contortion at times, but so it's the 8 limbs of yoga, and I have actually talked about 2 of these limbs. So one of them was the yamas, the yamas and the niyamas, and which is the what I talked. Sorry, let me just bring it here. So about the ethical rules and the observances. But the other ones on this are so there is asanas, and then there is dhyana, this meditation, and all these, and then there is something which is called pratyahara, which is withdrawal of senses, which we if you're staying with us for Kirtan, I'll talk a little bit more about it before we do the light ceremony. And then there is finally this this idea of the ultimate goal of self-realization, if you want. So basically it's all these along this path. So basically yoga is always about reaching this higher goal, but then we can be on any bits of this path, and we just need to do it very well. And the reason I had kind of stopped on the yamas and niyamas, because I think they are all very, very important and relevant for us in our current context, where we lead a worldly life. We've all got families and work and all that kind of stuff, and these are the principles that we kind of work and a little bit more, so this is the 8 limbs of yoga, if you like. So ashta means 8, anga means limbs, so that's the 8 limbs of yoga. Okay, does that answer your question, Catherine?
Yes, it does. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was muted, wasn't I?
Okay, anyone else? No?
I just want to say that was very good to cover everything you covered in an hour. I know you've spent thousands of hours studying, or hundreds of hours studying, and you can't really, like you say, go into much detail in all of the things. It's a very vast topic, but you did a great job of giving everybody an overview, I think.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely, most definitely. Completely agree with that.
I think you explained everything very well, so I got the gist of, what you were trying to say.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So anybody disagreeing with me, please? No?
No.
So do you buy everything I said? No, you shouldn't. That can't be right.
Well, I think you've given us all things to think about, the bigger picture for sure, and question things, and not believe everything that we hear, and that's something that you know, in our childhood, you know, with our parents and everything, you just do as you're told, and you never question anything you're told. So now, you know, with what you've explained, at least if it's a new thing to some of us, like you said, we can go to Uncle Google.
Guru.
our modern guru, yes. and ask those questions. But I think you did a fabulous job. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so any more questions? Praveen, any question?
Oh yeah, so I think this is more just like a comment. So how important is it to actually understand the philosophy behind yoga, or just can you do this as an exercise?
Can you just, the last bit?
Can you do it just as an exercise rather
Of
than
course. Of course you can, absolutely. And I think that that's the beauty of it. So there is something in it for everyone. So if exercise is what you need at the moment, then that's what you take from it. So it's not a system where it says, you know, you have to embrace me all, otherwise, you know, don't. So it's kind of saying, you know, if exercise is what you need at the moment, then that's what you want. And you know, it's just having that open mind and see. And I think like for instance, when I'm teaching yoga in a class, and I teach a class at the university, and one of the things that I tell my students all the time, and this is just the one thing that I want them to understand from the class, is that there is, you know, there is all this tool available here. So maybe now you don't want them, you don't need them in your life, but at least if you know it exists, then one day if you need it, it will come. So, you know, I mean, I think a lot of us in the West have joined yoga as a physical practice, and then we end up somewhere else when the time is right, when something happens. And you know, so it is great. I mean, being physical is, you know, if you go to the yamas and niyamas, so it gives you this idea of feeling content, it gives you, you know, things to reflect about, it gives you that discipline that you need. So it is absolutely great. So you know, I mean, maybe I didn't do justice in kind of saying asana is very, very important here, but it, you know, but it is. So I didn't, you know, so yeah, absolutely, go for it. Okay, so any does that answer your question? Okay, any more questions? No, okay. So so I'll now pass on to Eshrani, who will talk to you about Kirtan. So I'm just now gonna go from here, go to the next room, and set up slightly differently. So I'll see you. So I'm just gonna go now, and I'm gonna make somebody the host. Otherwise, we'll all be lost. So. Okay, so Eshrani, you're the host when you're ready for later, when you want to. Okay, so I'll leave you. I'll join you in a few minutes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Andrew, for that beautiful talk. So we're moving on to the second half of the afternoon program, and we're going to be doing some kirtan, some singing, chanting, and Bhakti Yoga. This falls under Bhakti Yoga, which is one of the 4 paths of yoga, and it's a path of devotion, of self-surrender, really. So, you know, there's many people who don't do the physicality of yoga. Some of them are strictly a bhakti yogi or yogini. So it's a way of stilling the mind, the restless mind. And in yoga, it says, they say it's one of the surest and safest and easiest way to a form of practicing yoga and reaching self-realization. So the aim on the 8th path of yoga, so the last one is samadhi, consciousness. So they say that this is one of the surest way to get to that goal. Of course, like Andrew mentioned, it's giving the fruits of our actions without any expectations to gain anything in reward. You're giving it with love and devotion from your heart. So you can expect from the Kirtan practice, usually we have harmonium, drums, different musical instruments it's very uplifting. The vibration is really amazing when we're all sitting together, 100 people in the room together, or wherever you are. But also, even though we're on, enjoying this beautiful modern day technology, you can still feel that vibration and the energy as well. And it's a way of, Andrew mentioned the video that Andrew played talks about the nadis, and it's also a way to cleanse the nadis and clear any impurities. So let's try and enjoy it. We do get a lot of emotions as well that may come up just from listening to it. Most of the chanting is done in Sanskrit, but don't, sometimes you don't even really need to know what it means. It's you feeling that vibration. It's internal. It's, like I was in Thailand and went to Vipassana meditation, and all of it was in Thai language. But although I didn't understand consciously, my subconscious somewhere understood something, because I could feel the vibration in my whole body. So don't dismiss it. It is something very, very powerful. If you were able to join us this morning in Sun Salutation when we did the mantra, somebody said, with the mantra, it helped them to really pick them up and keep them going. So, it's a very, very powerful practice. And again, it's a different part of yoga and what yoga can offer. So without saying much more, let's experience it for ourselves, and have an open mind. We'll do a little bit of Sanskrit ones, and we'll do English ones as well. I think Angela and Andrew both have harmoniums, so they'll probably be accompanied with their harmonium. I'll just be doing solo. So if you can, it's usually call and response, but obviously, we won't be able to do that on here. So we're hoping that you will be joining in at home as well. So thank you, and let's enjoy. I'll hand it over to Andrew now. I think she's starting it off for us. And if you have any questions, please let us know as well. Andrew, you can make yourself the host again, or I'm just muting myself, Andrew. Do we have the...
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but do we have the I've not got the chants that we prepared to share on screen.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, that's a little bit complicated.
Okay, let me see. Right. Okay. I'm going to check if I can share. I'm not sure how I'm going to.
You should be able to.
Yeah, so share screen.
Yeah, oops. Yay.
Right, can you guys see this, everybody?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So I will start. So and the lyrics are there. So again, just feel whatever feels without questioning it too much. And sometimes, if you feel anything that you weren't expecting, then in the true yogic style, just embrace it. Okay. So, whoops.
And also, if you feel like you want to move and get up and dance, some people can do that as well, and that's just your expression, so go with it.
And also, I mean, I will keep chanting, so you just join me when you're ready. So once you've kind of got the hang of it. Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om. 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 Join me when you're ready. Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om. 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 Now with Shanti. Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti Om. 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 Now yoga. Om Yoga Om Yoga Om Yoga Om. 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 Now prana. Om Prana Om Prana Om Prana Om. 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 Ananda, which means joy. Om Ananda Om Ananda Om Ananda Om. Om Ananda Om Ananda Om Ananda Om. Om Ananda Om Ananda Om. Om Ananda Om Ananda Om Ananda Om. Once more from the top. Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om. Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om.
Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om. Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, 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 Om. Om Yoga, Om Yoga, Om Yoga, 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 Om. Om Prana, Om Prana, Om Prana, 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 Om. Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om Anand, Ananda, Om. Om. Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om. Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om. Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om. Om Ananda, Om Ananda, Om. Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om. Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om. Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Shakti, Om. Om Shakti, Om Shakti, Om Shakti.
And just feeling the vibration before we move on to Angela for Kirtan, which is Jaya Mata Kali. Over to you.
So, hello everybody. So Jaya Mata Kali. So it's going to be Jaya Mata Kali, Jaya Mata Durgi, Kali Durgi Namo Namah. It's going to be done in a call and repeat. So I'll sing a line and then you join in for the second line. I'm actually going to sing both lines so that you join in on the second one so that you can still hear me. If you just end up singing along with the whole thing, don't worry about it. The meaning of this chant, it means praise to the blissful mother Kali, the wrathful one, whose blood-drenched sword severs the heads of ego and ignorance. So just like Anju mentioned in her talk earlier, Kali is a quality of consciousness. So it's not a separate God, it's just an aspect of consciousness. It's the part of the divine feminine quality, strong, forceful, divine mother aspect. My child was trapped under a car, should be able to be that kind of strong, feminine mother kind of power. So I'm a little rusty on the harmonium, so please forgive me. just keep singing if the harmonium stops. So joining in, whenever you're ready, call and repeat. I sing the first line, you'll sing the second line. Thank you very much for listening. I will pass over to Eshrani.
Okay, so I'm doing one of Swami Shivananda's favorite kirtan. It's serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. So again, it's call and response. So just like Anju and Angela, I will say the first line and you hopefully will be joining in where you are at home. There is a lot of emotions that come up, sometimes teary eyes, you know, from the session. So don't underestimate what it can give you. It can give you a lot of strength to face life difficulties. So just close your eyes for a moment and Take a deep breath in and a long and slow breath out, trying to keep the spine as straight as you can. Breathing in deeply, breathing out slowly and gently. And hopefully you can all hear me. So I'll start, yeah, good. So, serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Be good, do good, be kind, be compassionate. Be good, do good, be kind, be compassionate. Adapt, adjust, accommodate. Adapt, adjust, accommodate. Bear insult, bear injury, highest sadhana. Bear insult, bear injury, highest sadhana. Bear insult, bear injury, highest yoga. Bear insult, bear injury, highest yoga. Inquire, who am I? Know thyself and be free. You will soon attain immortality. Inquire, who am I? Know thyself and be free. You will soon attain immortality. Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om. Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om. Om Shanti, Om Peace, Om Shalom, Om. Om Shanti, Om Peace, Om Shalom, Om. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Be good, do good, be kind, be compassionate. Be good, do good, be kind, be compassionate. Adapt, adjust, accommodate. Adapt, adjust, accommodate. Bear insult, bear injury, highest sadhana. Bear insult, bear injury, highest sadhana. Bear insult, bear injury, highest yoga. Bear insult, bear injury, highest yoga. Inquire, who am I? Know thyself and be free. You will soon attain immortality. Inquire, who am I? Know thyself and be free. You will soon attain immortality. Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om. Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om. Om Shanti, Om Peace, Om Shalom, Om. Om Shanti, Om Peace, Om Shalom, Om. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Do good, be kind, be kind. Do good, be kind, be compassionate. Do good, be kind, be compassionate. Adapt, adjust, accommodate. Adapt, adjust, accommodate. Bear insult, bear injury, highest sadhana. Bear insult, bear injury, highest yoga. Inquire, who am I? Know thyself and be free. You will soon attain immortality. Inquire, who am I? Know thyself and be free. You will soon attain immortality. Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat Om. Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om. Om Shanti, Om Peace, Om Shalom, Om. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Be good, do good, be kind, be compassionate. Be good, do good, be kind, be compassionate. Adapt, adjust, accommodate. Adapt, adjust, accommodate. Bear insult, bear injury, highest sadhana. Bear insult, bear injury, highest yoga. Inquire who am I, know thyself and be free. You will soon attain immortality. Inquire who am I, know thyself and be free. You will soon attain immortality. Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om. Om Shanti, Om Peace, Om Shalom, Om. Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om. Om Shanti, Om Peace, Om Shalom, Om. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Be good, do good, be kind, be compassionate. Adapt, adjust, accommodate. Bear insult, bear injury, highest sadhana. Bear insult, bear injury, highest yoga. Inquire who am I, know thyself and be free. You will soon attain immortality. Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Tat Sat, Om. Om Shanti, Om Peace, Shalom, Om. Serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. Thank you all. So, Anju, who's next?
Sheila.
I'll hand it over to Sheila now.
Sheila, do you want to unmute yourself?
Rani, if you're the host, can you unmute Sheila?
Shravani, can you, Sheila, you can, yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I've unmuted myself. Is this okay? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So Om Namah Shivaya from Mauritius. This is what I was saying earlier. And I'll be singing today Shiva Shiva Shiv Shambho, Shiv the Great, Auspicious One, and then Mahadeva Shambho, the great God, the auspicious great God. And I'm hoping that you will also be joining. So just a minute, 3 deep breaths as we start. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. I'm sorry, it feels a lot. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Shiva, 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 Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. Om Namah Shivaya.
Okay, so thank you everyone. We've now reached the concluding part of today, where we will be singing an arati. So if you move yeah. So arati is this this idea of to the bottom, Ishrani, yeah, and yeah, and the idea of it is this representation of light again, and so that we can see the light, so we can connect with that consciousness, if you like. So the idea is I will be lighting this. So this has got camphor in. So and I'll be, we normally have like loads of deities, and so we just kind of wave it to the deities, saluting them to help us to see this light. So there's always a light here as well. And I will also light the incense stick, and I will, there is also a bell that we normally use. So I won't use a bell because it will just be, you won't be able to hear, but normally imagine it. And the idea is we're kind of making all the senses that we've got really withdrawing from them, so that we concentrate on this one thing that we're doing. So this is the pratyahara that Catherine asked earlier on about one of these ashtangas. So really we do all that together so that our mind is really focused on this divine. And so we will have a little version of this today. And the first one, the first bit is about saluting Shankaracharya. So he was one of the people, well, in India about a very, very long time ago, who went round India to kind of unify, well, and brought all the philosophies, the different philosophies together, and brought them all together so that we've got one of the philosophy that we adhere to now. So this is salutation to him. And then we also salute various deities, as you will see in there. And yeah, and then finally we will also chant Twameva Mata, which is kind of saying that, you know, this idea of God being everything for us, and being you know, our father, our mother, and absolutely everything. So all together. So this is us. So so if you'd like to join me.
Andrew, I think perhaps maybe for everybody to see what you're doing, maybe I can come out of the share screening.
No,
so,
well, people might want to see the word. It's fine. People would probably better see the word.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just, yeah. Om Jaya Jaya Rati Shankaracharya Shankaracharya Advaita Gurave.
And while we do this, everybody can stand up.
Jaya Jaya Rati Jesus Gurave, Moses Gurave, Buddha Gurave, Jaya Jaya Rati Muhammad Gurave, Jaya Jaya Rati Muhammad Gurave, Guru Nanak Gurave, Samasta Gurubhyo Namaha. Twameva Mata Chapeta Twameva, Twameva Bandhu Sashakha Twameva, Twameva Vatyatra Vinam Twameva, Twameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om. So now I'll give this light to you. So if you want to take some of it, to take to your eyes and to yourself, just to protect us with that light. So just symbolically, so that we are all, so, and this is the symbol of our ego burning into that consciousness. So we are one with this consciousness. So that's the signification of this. So we'll finish with Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu,
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May the entire universe be filled with peace and love and light and joy. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Okay, so thank you, everyone. That's the end of today. Thank you so much for giving time to us to come and be here, part of this celebration today, and hope you've had a good time. And Eshrani, can you make me host again, please? I don't know how that works. It's not letting me be host, or it doesn't matter actually.
How can I do that? I'm not sure.
Don't worry, don't worry. Do you want to unmute everyone so people can say anything they want to say?
Yeah, just bear with me.
I don't think you can unmute everybody anymore. I can't on mine. I have to.
I can only do a few people, not everybody. So whoever is not unmuted, if you can unmute yourselves.
Yeah, and just if you want to say anything before we finish. And
thank
well,
you.
I just wanted to say thank you very much, Sheila. I bawled my eyes out when she sang, and I just let that release. So that was really good, and it touched me. So thank you.
okay, so
thank you everyone. Yeah, that's my
Thank
first
you,
Kirtan, is that how you say it? Kirtan.
Yeah.
Kirtan. Yeah, thank you. Really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Catherine, for joining.
That's
fabulous.
I hope Rhythm enjoyed it, Sarah. Was she dancing?
She did, and she even did a few shanties at the end, so I was very
That's amazing. Fabulous.
Give away.
Oh, she's so sweet. Oh my God.
Sorry, we were a bit late. We were having a late lunch, so yeah. Well, I'm just glad that we got to join in at the end. We really enjoyed it, so thank you.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, she's so sweet.
She's very cute. Little yogi.
Little yogi.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to go higher? There you go. There you go. Yeah. Off now. She'll be on telly all day now. Little limelight.
A star in the making for
I
sure.
She used to be quite shy, but I think she's going out of that now.
Yeah.
Oh, last time then, there you go.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for taking time out to. Oh.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashrani, can you stop the meeting?
Yes, I think I can end it. Yes.
Thank you.